How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be looking at a van that I built for the Three Blind Mice Vantastic challenge. And as you've seen in the thumbnail of this video, this is what we ended up making. And I'll give you a little once over here on its base. Let's see. And here's some detail. You can see some caked on dust and rust there on the treads. And look at that front ram. Oh, you can see he's a little bit grumpy. And overall just grimy, rusty and dusty. Some good dirt caked on. But yeah, here's the base. Got some chunky rocks, some dust and dirt, and it's a nice simple round shape. Now why would that be? Oh, it's a CD! Sorry whoever made this album. But now we have a nice little wasteland display to put our cars on. So let's take a look at how I built this. So we started with a cheap, no-brand Chinese casting. And actually you'll notice on the side here, we have these nice red stripes going there. And those were actually original to the casting, which brings me to the dirty little secret of this build, is that I did not paint it at all. Well, other than this ram on the front. I did paint that. And that's made from cardstock. This really thin cardboard, actually. So I cut that into pieces. I started out with this slope on the front and the side members here. Got the general shape, and then I just added some more bands here and there and some spikes. Those little teeth shapes on the front. Make it look mean. Give it that Mad Max feel. So that's what I did, and I coated it with some super glue, and you'll see I got this matte Mod Podge mixed with black paint. And this is something that I learned from Jeremy over at Black Magic Craft as a base coating for terrain projects, and it works really well. And if you haven't seen him, go check out his videos. There's a lot of good tips and tricks in there. So yeah, I coated it with baking soda and super glue, like I said, to give it some texture and harden it up. And then I hit it with the Mod Podge. And I know what you're saying. Wait, you didn't paint this? What are you talking about? Alright, well, there's the Mod Podge with black paint in it. And if you look really close right here, you can see, can you see it? Maybe this side. There we go. If we can get it to focus. Okay. So there's a slight texture there. It's kind of wrinkly texture, bumpy. And that is actually from this matte varnish. And this is just a cheap matte varnish that I got from the dollar store here. It's clear. It's just the cheapest stuff you can find. And it's actually pretty thick. You can see in there. What I do is I get a brush. That's actually pretty stiff from the varnish, and I dip it in some water, get the more varnish on there, and just start stippling on the surface of the car. Stipple, 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 giving it that nice texture. And that'll give us the texture to put our weathering onto. The rust and the grime and the dust will stick really nicely into that, and it'll help as like a primer. It'll help the paint stick to the car, which is something you need to have if you're not going to paint it. We also took this black wash and my paints, which are all from the dollar store as well. Just started blocking in those grimy, muddy areas, the rust colors. Just stippling those in with a brush. Hit the top with a black wash to give it those streaks coming down off the top. And same thing on the bottom here, which you can see is actually made from this sanding mesh. Has a really nice size hole in it for this scale. And then after that was done, I just took some other colors, some reds and some oranges and yellows, and did a dry brush. Different areas to give it some variation. And then a quick highlight dry brush. And then, this is what I used for my dust. This is a pack of color pastels from the dollar store. Again, you can see a pattern here. And you need to make sure you get the dry pastels. You cannot use oil pastels in this way. They will gum up on you. You need the dry pastels. What I did was I put them in this little mortar and pestle and ground them up into a really fine powder. And I took a dry brush and stuck it in there and just kind of blotted it on. Dabbed it on the ram and in the cracks and crevices there to give it that really dusty rust effect. I think it comes out really well. You can use pigments for this, but the pastels are really good bang for your buck when it's 18 of them for $1. And you can see I did that on the base here as well. And oh, there's a little piece there that didn't get ground up. It actually sticks on really well. I didn't clear coat this or anything, and it sticks on there without rubbing off. Now, the tank parts came from this very fancy brand. Toy car. Again from the dollar store, that's right. And these are actually die-cast. The top of the tank is die-cast. The treads and the gun turret are plastic, which makes it easy to use them. And yeah, not bad for $1. Let's pop this thing open and see what it looks like. So you can see there on the bottom there's actually screws. Very easy to get into. And you can get some wheels out of it as well. I've used those before on a car for like the front wheels of a dragster. You see the turret moves around if you want to keep that functionality. Some nice detail there. I'll take dry brushing well. And actually the one that I used was a different one, and it was black and gray silver. And you can see I didn't actually paint those either. I just did my little trick with the matte varnish. Some dry brushing and weathering over that, and the top there as well is not painted, just has the matte varnish and a dry brush. So you can really do a lot without breaking out the paints and still have it look pretty decent. So there it is. I think it turned out really well, and the front ram gives it some character there with his little grumpy face. I'm not in love with the turret on top, but it's okay and something to keep in mind for next time. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you on the next build.